I am Yazeed, and this is Tommy. Say hi, Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
For any first-time listeners, I'll give a little explanation of what this podcast is. This is a podcast where Tom and I talk about and kind of give informal reviews of movies and music. Sometimes we're going to have guests in the near future, but for now it's just the two of us. And we're going to kind of just jump right into it. The movie we watched this week is Exit Through the Gift Shop, directed by famed, renowned, critically acclaimed street artist Banksy. I want to kind of give some background on how I discovered this movie because it's kind of weird, and I knew who Banksy was, but I wasn't really into the whole street art scene and didn't know anything about it, much like Tommy didn't know much about it at all going into this.
Basically nothing.
But there was some movie that was that was shot on Disney World. I forget what it was called, but it doesn't really matter. It was black and white. It was weird. And I saw it, and I saw this list about movies that were shot in Disney World or Disneyland illegally without people knowing, which that movie was. And there's a part in Exit Through the Gift Shop that was shot in Disney World and like illegally, and they took the footage. It's the part with the
No, I know with
person,
the prisoner.
Yeah.
So they're not. They probably watched this, obviously, so they know about the footage. So
well, yeah, but there's nothing they can really do about it now. I don't.
You can't sue or anything.
I don't know. They might have attempted to. I have no idea, but
maybe they wouldn't know.
I mean, no one knows who Banksy is anyway. So what's the point?
Not. Okay.
I mean, I guess you can find Mr. Brainwash or what was his real name? Thierry.
No, Terry. It's just Terry. They just say it, Terry. No, I know what you're talking about.
Thierry. That was my name in French class.
Terry?
Yeah, that was Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Henri. But there's a soccer player named Thierry Henry. That's what I thought. I was thinking. Never mind. So,
Eric.
This movie came out in 2010, directed by Banksy. This totally got me into the whole street art scene. There's a couple other movies I saw after. Good Obey Giant, about Shepard Fairey from Obey. And then there's another one, something in the vein of Banksy Takes New York, and it's about Banksy's 30-day residence in New York City. And those are, I guess, things that if you were to watch this film and you would probably like those films too, because they're all about street art, and they're like documentaries. So, what were your initial reactions to this?
I thought it was actually a pretty well designed. I know it's like a documentary, but I thought it was really well put together. I don't even know where to start. But I guess with Banksy himself, he just kind of seems like a dick, to be honest. Obviously he has really good art, but his personality, I mean, I guess that's really not the whole importance of the movie, or the documentary, whatever. But even though, Terry was, kind of, used everyone, I guess, for their quote and to, make him seem like he's a better artist than he is. Terry, helped Banksy, do all these stuff, hidden, and he recorded them, and in a sense, it made Banksy a little bit more popular, I feel like, and it helped them both. And I really don't think that I feel like everyone was just real hard on Terry, and you got to give him a little bit of credit because, listen, he's obsessed with all this filming and just obsessed with pretty much. I kind of resemble myself with him because whatever he does, he really sets his mind on.
That's hilarious because I would probably say I'm more like Banksy, and that I could be a pretentious asshole at times.
He was very focused, and I feel like Banksy was just coming hard at him. He's just I really didn't like anything that he did. Even with the film that he did, he said, it was complete shit. I was it was his first attempt at something.
Yes, but also, you cannot even, look me in the face and tell me about his art gallery that was, a real... he had other artists just making the work.
No,
I get that he designed it and everything, but that was kind of bullshit. He basically got, Like he was just jerking himself off at that point. Like he was fully
Basically.
just enthralled with himself, and it was just all about the ego. And he was just like, "I'm an artist now," and he wasn't. He didn't. That's the thing. I will say something about Terry, that he did grind on his stuff, and that he did do hard work to get to where he was. But I didn't think that justified him acting like he was artist. Like I feel like he was basically trying to play Banksy, and that's what his goal was. And it's like almost, I think with Banksy directing this, it's almost like Banksy's this god figure in our eyes to a certain degree, because he's creating this kind of story, but also in like Terry's eyes, like Terry loves Banksy.
Yeah,
that's a definitive thing. Like we can't deny that.
Yeah,
he likes all the other street arts, but he had a clear like thing for Banksy. But I also think about Banksy,
especially
Terry,
when they first met.
He trusted Terry. Terry knows who Banksy is, and that's something that no one knows. Like it's not like people do know, but it's not it's not publicly known who Banksy is.
That Disneyland thing, like when he
that was crazy.
Yeah, when he deleted it, like the footage was from someone else. I'm pretty sure, probably someone who recorded it. You know, one of the passing by people.
Yeah, I think that they. I thought they might have said at some point that they like some part of it didn't get deleted, but they didn't check it, or that he had
he stashed it in his sock.
Yeah,
there you go.
So that's how they got the footage.
But he trusted him, and like that was like
so that's what I would say.
And Banksy at that moment said he like a little bit after that, I believe, that he was his friend. Like and then it just from there it just goes downhill, and I don't know if we should be giving a synopsis of this whole thing, but I feel like we're just going on and on. But I just want to talk about it because it's just like it feels like really good, and there's just so much praise in the beginning, and it just slowly deteriorates, and it just like everyone's just bashing him so hard. And I get that he's representing like basically street art, like a lot of street art, and a lot of people that are hidden and undergroundish. But like he doesn't really deserve all this. He was just trying to do something different, and especially from like the god Banksy, and he's like, listen, do your own thing. I want you to do your own thing, and I want you to try and succeed.
But then Banksy regrets saying that.
Yeah, that's
but this is the thing. This is what I'll say, is that I think there's a point to this movie, especially from Banksy's perspective. So street art was this thing that a long time ago was not taken seriously. Graffiti was not taken seriously as art. Like, Banksy's stuff is in galleries. People buy that stuff. Like, it's now a serious thing. If you were to get a Banksy, you can sell it for a lot of money. So I think the thing is that he's showing this kind of other side to street art. The thing where people go, that's just a bunch of bullshit. That's just like, I could just scribble on the wall, and is that considered art? Or like, I could install a toilet in the middle of the road. Is that an art installation? And the thing with that is, from Mr. Brainwash Terry's perspective, it is just bullshit. Like, he just starts making a bunch of garbage. Like, not garbage, but things that don't serve any purpose. And it sells. It's a success. He's successful in his thing. And I think that that's kind of what Banksy is showing. And I think that there is a little bit of resentment that isn't really shown, because it's from Banksy's perspective. So he doesn't have to show what he doesn't want to show. I think there's a little bit of resentment that, like, all right, this guy's really successful. Obviously, Banksy is the most successful. But this guy's getting a little bit of success by just BSing his way through everything. He's not an actual artist. He's not creating his art. But it's still working. Like, this is the thing that's wrong with street art, or people that are into street art. They don't... It's just this thing that's, like, fanatic, you know? That no one actually cares about the message anymore. It's just about who can get the most money from it and who can brag that I have a Banksy in my house. It's all about that.
Yeah, they were like the whole... They were talking about in the film, they were talking about the first night, and they were saying, like... And he was talking about the numbers, too. Terry was talking about these numbers, and he was just saying, like 30,000, 20,000. He was just selling it, and he almost made $1 million that whole first night, and that's crazy. And people were
breaking down the stuff. They're like, well, I can really... Weren't they saying, like, I can really... Like, I get this thing. This is... Like, they were...
Yes.
seeing this kind of message in it that wasn't really there.
I feel like you guys are not going to get this, but I feel like it's with what I wrote. Remember in creative writing, and I wrote that random stuff, and then your mom saw some light in it. I feel like it's kind of like.
Well, it's like any art. It's like anything. You can find, if someone can find
Personal
meaning in
yeah.
then I think that it holds some kind of value, at least to someone. And I think that's the point of art. Art is, like, subjective, you know?
Yeah.
But what I think the real problem more from Banksy's perspective was that, like, he's not doing any of this stuff. He's just taking credit for something that other people are doing. Like, they were these other artists were slaving away at, like, making this stuff. And he was just like, oh my god, he was just rolling around in that goddamn thing because his leg was broken.
Yeah, it was really obnoxious. Like, just get some crutches. Why'd you have a little scooter? That was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
French people.
I mean, but, I would say that, like, Terry's very, like, I admire a lot about him, and he's very dedicated to what he's about, and he's very into this stuff, but, like, it just kind of backfires. It becomes, like, a train wreck at the end, where he's getting in way above his head, and, like, it's just too much. It's too much.
And something, like, that I don't know if you, like, thought about this, too, while you're watching, but whole time, like, when he's going off with, like, Space Invader and Shepard, it's just like, dude, you need to be with your family. You need to be with your family, and, like, it really hurt me inside when the wife was just so, like, submissive about everything and just letting it happen. Like, oh, he would just go away and he's saying goodbye. Like, that's fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
You need to be with your family, especially these essential years. Those kids they're like right on the cusp of like teenagers, and they're gonna hate you. And I don't know, I feel like it was like really hurting me. What do you think about like the music though of the whole film?
To be honest, I don't think I really focused on that much.
Oh, like you didn't? Oh, okay.
So I couldn't really even tell you like what songs were in it.
Oh, I can't tell you what songs either, but like I thought it was when like a piece of music did come in, I feel like it was the right time, and I feel like it was good. Like I think the first song, like the intro. Oh, the intro. We could talk about the intro too. What did you think about that? But the intro and the ending, like the closing song, I like that song. I don't know what it's called, but I like it.
Yeah, I don't even think I was focusing on that at all. And usually I do, but I feel like in this one I wasn't. I was like, there's a lot going on at all times.
There is a lot.
And kind of to just go back on a point you were talking about before, about them like shitting on him. I think the problem that comes from it is the fact that he was like lying about it. Like he was like, yo, I'm directing a film about street art, and I want to be with you guys because you're street artists. And then Banksy is like, hey, I want to see it. What's happening with that movie? And then he makes the movie, and it's shit because he was lying the whole time. He scrambles to just put stuff together. He goes through all those goddamn VHS tapes or whatever they were. And
cassettes, I believe. Something like that.
And he's just going through this, and they're not labeled, all of them. And that's the thing that I think Banksy was mad about, because it's like, oh, you know, he's expecting this film to come out about street art, and it's shit. And then Banksy's like, well, I guess I'll make it, because I think it's important, and you clearly, like, didn't do this. Yeah. Like, you clearly lacked the competency to do it. So I thought that this thing was very interesting. Some of this stuff is like almost, you can't believe it. Like, there are people that question the validity of it and believe that Banksy, this is in itself a work of art that Banksy put together to fool people. Now, I almost believe that this is to
fool people, in like, for what angle?
Like, to trick people. Like, it's like a joke. It's him pulling a fast one on the large community. Like he's tricking people. This is just a piece of art. This is him messing with people. None of this stuff was real. He shot this all. Now, I think this is too strange to be written. I don't know if I would ever believe this.
That's a heavy conspiracy theory to say that all of this was fake.
Yeah.
Wow, that's...
And that there is no Mr. Brainwashed, that it's not real.
But that's like... there's no, like, events, like, of this happening? No records?
Well, I think there were. I just read an article about a while ago about, like, a breakdown of this. But, I don't really put any...
That's crazy.
I don't put any stock in that, really, because I think it's just too messed up to... It's just crazy. And also...
Terry's a person is just so hard to make up, too.
True, but I think that this is the thing that people call... Like, you could say, oh, that art installation actually happened, but then this is the thing, they're just saying that was a setup also. That every event that took place in this thing was actually happened, but it was Banksy controlling everything. And that there was no... Which I find that's way too much. Yeah, I feel like that's way too much.
That's a lot.
If anyone was going to put this amount of effort, I guess it would be Banksy, but I don't think it would be... It would make sense. I don't think it would...
It doesn't fit.
It doesn't gain anything. I mean, I guess you could sit in the background and be like, ha ha ha, I made a joke and no one gets it, but really, what's the point of that?
Yeah, why would you want that? It doesn't seem like his, especially the way he was talking, too. I feel like it was genuine.
Yeah, so this one was nominated for an Oscar for documentary feature in 2010.
Wow.
I don't believe it won, but
doesn't matter. Nominated? That means
it's like kind of a big deal. So, just another they asked Banksy if the film was real, and he said yes. I don't know if that helps at all. That's just something.
I feel like it doesn't, because I feel like if you already have the thought in your head that, oh, this is a whole setup, the fact that he says yes might even just like go along with the whole idea. That idea.
Well, this is the thing. I think it's like there are parts in it that are just hilarious.
Yeah.
And I almost think if Banksy could write this, that there might be more money in it for just film writing than there is in street art. Like, I mean, I don't think he actually cares about money at all. But I think like he easily could have so much success as a script. Like, this is too much. Like, this is genius. If someone wrote this,
you're a master writer. Just making these characters in itself.
Yeah, so I can't even fathom the idea. Like, if I were to find out this would be, like, a mockumentary instead of a documentary, like, this is a joke, I don't even know how I'd react. I would just be like, I'd have no words.
I think if it was something like that, I feel like it would just be easily one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would be
just
the
village, someone went to do this is ridiculous.
What did you think about, like, the... I don't know what you like the actual people who like the street artists themselves.
So this kind of introduced me to a lot of people. Shepard Fairey, a big one. I was familiar with him, like I think a lot of people are because of the Obey brand. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
it's in Urban Outfitters. All that. I bought a shirt when I was in like 7th grade of it, for like way too much money. Probably like $20, which is like a lot for 7th grader to be spending on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but for me it was. Yeah, there's a lot of people in this, and I think that it kind of just keeps adding to like the power that it has. Like, like there's a lot of people in on this together talking about this, and the kind of scope that Terry had, his involvement with street art. It was real, like, he's with all these people, and I think each one of them kind of saw something in them that they liked, at least. That they could respect, at least.
Yeah. Terry's just such an interesting character. Like,
Terry reminds me of the guy that directed The Room.
I do not know who that is.
So...
in what way?
Because, okay.
You gotta give me some explanation.
Tommy Wiseau, the director of The Room, this kind of cult classic 2003 movie.
Oh.
The one that they made that movie, The Disaster Artist, about that movie.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Terry has this money. He has a lot of money because he sells these, like, vintage clothes, right?
Yes.
And he has money. He has money that he could put into this whole, like, hobby of his. And you're just like, whoa, like, you got a lot of money. And Tommy Wiseau, he kind of popped up out of nowhere. No one really knew how he had all this money, but he was rich. He put money into making his own film. And I just think, like, the dedication that they had to bringing about something that they wanted. It's just and the fact that they're just, I think both of them are crazy, a little bit at least.
And that's what it really is. Passion, and it's just drive and just craziness and, like, oh, it's just too much. They're just, like, it's passion where it's like, whoa, dude, you need to chill. Especially with all those tapes, like.
There's so many tapes. And they were, he said, I think, he never wanted to watch, he never planned on watching any of them again. He never even labeled them to, like, check which one they were.
That's literally, like, my list of music. Like, it's just so vast right now that it's impossible for me to listen to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, like, it's just so much. He's just hoarding it, and he's not going to use it. Like, come on. But, I mean, he used that as, like, his way in. You know, he was just telling them, I'm going to make a movie about this. And I think they all were like, all right, that's cool. But he was just lying, and he was just getting so much thrill out of it. I can respect that fact that he, like, just kept enjoying it because he was getting so much thrill out of it. Like, he's in danger. He could be arrested. At one point, he's detained by the, like, Disney police, I guess, or whatever, security. And they're, like, interrogated, and he's risking a lot of stuff. Like, he's risking probably jail time.
I feel like you played it so, like, calm and cool, though.
But I also think that says a lot about how crazy he is.
Yeah, I know.
And how the drive he has again.
Dude,
he will do anything to, like, protect Banksy and all this stuff.
Crazy people are dangerous, okay? You know when someone's crazy. You know it. You can feel it when you look at their face. It's instant.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like that. And it's scary.
Anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yes, actually, a couple things. So, there was a scene in the film that I thought was very strange that Banksy put in there when Terry actually, like, he's being interviewed and he's talking about when he actually first, or not when he first met him, but Banksy as a whole, and he kept going. Did you hear, like, the stutter? Like, he was like, what I like about him was, and he just keeps going, and then he ends off with, yeah, I really like him. Did you see that? Like, or did you remember
well,
that?
I think that kind of tells a lot about Terry as a, he's like
more fumbling around, but then he's just like, fuck it. Boom, I like him.
But I think that tells a lot about Terry because I think Terry's more of a doer than a talker.
Ooh,
you know, I think he's not like, because this is what I'll tell you about Terry that no one can dispute. Terry wasn't like, man, I really like street art. I really want to get involved with street art. And then he just sat around doing nothing. He just went head first in this whole thing. Never looked back. Never looked back at his family. Never looked back at anything. And he was just there. And he was just into it. And that was his life now. And I think that's what I drew from that, at least. That, you know, maybe he can't, like, articulate his words that well. Or maybe he doesn't have, like, this profound statement. But he just, there's something about this that he loves so much that, you know, you have to admire. Like, that's the thing. I admire parts of Terry, and I hate parts of Terry because he's just crazy. And the fact that he could gain success with such BS. But there are parts that you have to admire. You have to.
Oh, without a doubt. I also want to say, like, not really necessary, but, like, obviously, there was a chess reference. And his line, dude, his line is just hilarious. I forget where I wrote it, though. I wrote it down because it was so weird. Hold on. Might have to cut this. Ooh. Oh, he said, I don't know how to play chess, but life is like a game of chess. And I just thought that's so funny, like...
That's a good quote, yeah.
Like, what does that even mean, Terry? If you don't know how to play, does that mean you don't know how to play life? Like, I don't understand. He's just, like... It really just, like, gets right into his craziness. Oh,
that's a good quote, though. Come on. If a genius said that, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
just he is a genius, though.
I mean, I wouldn't go so far to say that.
A genius, not as in like intelligence, but the way he does things. I think no one else could have done what he done.
I don't know if I would call that genius, but I think that the line between genius and crazy is something that people examine all the time. And
oh my god, that's...
But I would call him more crazy than genius. But I don't know if... I think that the things have less to do with genius than like just sheer intensity and drive and all that stuff. I don't know if that has to do with it.
Oh my god!
And I wouldn't call that genius necessarily.
Intensity. That's a really good word to describe like him and Steve Jobs. I think too, and all these like.
But
really
this is the thing about Steve Jobs. I don't know if I would call Steve Jobs a genius. He didn't do any of the technical stuff there. He just was a really good at talking and selling this message, and I mean. Maybe that's like a marketing genius or something. But I don't know what Terry would be a genius of. Like, what is his genius? Where does his genius lie?
In just his whole journey, I think, because I could never...
What aspect? What aspect? I think you have to give his genius some kind of aspect.
His drive, his focus. Like,
but I don't think that has to do with genius.
I disagree with you. I feel like that is some kind of level of being a genius. I feel like you have to... I feel like you don't have to... You have to be at a certain point in your brain, I guess you could say, to be that focused where you need to accomplish this because it's that important to you. And I feel like... It's like personality too. I feel like it's a little bit mixed with that. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like he is a genius on some level. Mm-hmm. And I'll just end off with that.
Okay, so we finished up our talk on the Exit Through the Gift Shop by Banksy. I almost said Danksy.
I heard that.
That'd be I don't know. So we're on to the album portion. And this album that we listened to this week was Judas Priest's Screaming for Vengeance, which is from 1982.
That is from 1982.
And Tommy picked this one, so...
Do you want me to... Should I explain?
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, so... I feel like...
Why'd you pick this album?
I'm getting into it. I feel like...
I was just giving you direction.
I know. I feel like rock music itself, like, we're definitely going to be listening to a lot of rock albums. I feel like Led Zeppelin's going to come in. Just a lot. I can name too many right now. But heavy metal, I feel like Judas Priest like is like heavy metal but like rock, and it's like somewhere in between. I feel like it's a nice like fade in to like heavier stuff or to lighter stuff, whatever direction we want to go. And I feel like it's a in between kind of album that looks into everything, and I feel like it's solid. To me, it's very solid, and I think it's just something that'll help us to rely on in case we want to reference something. Like if we listen to something that's not as good, there's a bundle of those, but something that lacks a little bit, and we could say why it lacks. And I feel like this is just a good point to reference off from. And this was also like it was pretty. What's it called? The runtime wasn't that long. It was only like 40 minutes, so it was a nice, easy listen. So, what did you think?
I liked it. As someone that I don't have that much background in heavy metal at all, so I mean, I don't even know. I could name probably some heavy metal bands, but if I can't say like how much music I've actually listened to from them.
Yeah, I got that.
I mean, I like the only one I could really I obviously like Metallica, things like that, and I probably have heard songs by Metallica and everything, but I don't think I ever actively looked up like a Metallica album and listened to it, you know. So like I don't think my interest necessarily ever lied in heavy metal, and I think that was probably because of some kind of stigma towards it. Like, it's very serious and, like, not depressing, but has, like, very crazy topics. And I think this is really maybe eye-opening's a strong word, but it definitely reveals a lot to me about what heavy metal really is, and that doesn't necessarily have to be this like super serious, depressing, like scary almost thing. Like this album, I think is I don't know how I would. It's not tame is not the word I would use, but I think it's like it's a rock album. It's cool. It's not too crazy or anything like that. It's not too chaotic. It's kind of like something I would want to listen to, and I found myself enjoying it. It's not very tense. It's not very anything. It's very like almost loose. It's nice.
I could say that like that's like pretty much exactly point on. And I asked like I know heavy metal from like my father because he has so many CDs, but he just plays like stuff all the time because he thinks he's so funny. And he'll just be like, "Oh, Tom, it's 9 a.m, but I'm gonna play some heavy metal for you just to wake your ass up." And you're like, "Come on!" And then he'll just throw some jazz, and he just knows so much. But like, Judas Priest is very different, and like I never realized like their talents. They're like in between, like I said before, and they're not like a Black Sabbath, and they're not a Metallica, like, and they're not like a Motorhead. They're so different, and they're for like I don't want to say like.
Well, this is the thing. This album was like I read that this album was their mainstream breakthrough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense because I think this is very
it's for like
welcoming.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not hard to get into. Like I think you could show this to most people and they wouldn't be intimidated by it or anything. They would just be like, okay, that's how. Because I think AC/DC is probably a good comparison.
Yeah.
AC/DC are very heavy metal, but they don't call themselves. They just call themselves a rock band. But I think AC/DC is like. It's kind of the same deal where it's like I think people could get into it. It's not so serious. It's more. I don't know. I don't want to say it's more rock, but I guess it's more mainstream.
Yeah, I would say that.
Because I think mainstream is tame.
I think they're a close comparison, but some of their...
The closest thing for me as someone who doesn't know anything.
Yeah, some of their songs, though, like Thunderstruck.
But yeah. Thunderstruck's, like, it's a mainstream hit.
Yeah, but that's like that. I'm saying that's a harder song, though.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, topic or any material, like... Thunderstruck. Like,
come on, okay.
Come on, it's not like...
Okay, it's not like, I'm gonna kill everyone.
Yeah, because I think there are heavy metal that's like that.
Oh, you know, like...
There's, like, death metal and stuff.
That's like Motley Crue with, like, the mosh pits and stuff like that. They got... And they're, like, Satan worshippers. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you go so far...
There's, like, some of that's... Like, one of these songs is called Devil's Child. Bloodstone... Screaming for Vengeance is the name of it. I mean, that's very metal, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think that, like, when you come down to it, it's not, like, off-putting. And I think that, I don't want to say, like, all heavy metal, like, or death metal or anything like that is off-putting, but I think to someone that only listens to mainstream stuff, and obviously I don't only listen to mainstream stuff, I would be interested in listening to that kind of stuff, but I was never introduced to that ever before. Then I think it's harder to get into. I think this is like you said, is a good entry point into heavy metal because you can kind of connect it to a lot of mainstream rock.
What did you 100% though? This is definitely why I chose this. What did you think were like not your like the ups of the whole thing?
The first time I listened to the title track, Screaming for no, You've Got Another Thing Coming, not the title track. You've Got Another Thing Coming, I guess, is the most popular song off of this album. Like, it was the one that was, like, blew up, I guess. It was off of this album, that's what I read. And I was like, the first time I listened to it, I was kind of underwhelmed. But then I listened to it a couple more times. And I actually liked it, and I thought that, like, I could be listening to this song. I liked Bloodstone.
Yes.
I think that probably was my favorite.
That's my favorite.
That one and Take These Chains.
Yes.
Those two were my favorites.
Yes.
I did like Pain and Pleasure.
Yep.
Screaming for Vengeance was fine too.
Wow, this is
A
like
lot of these albums were fine, or songs were fine off the album. I thought that it was interesting because I didn't think that I liked Electric Eye, but I thought like a lot of albums are stacked a certain way where like the first couple songs are always like the most popular, the most like you'll think it'll be the most popular, but I thought this one was like kind of well balanced, and I don't know which I would prefer the worst, not worst, the like lesser tracks to be at the beginning of the end and have the better songs in the middle, or have the middle be lesser songs, because I think for this one I honestly think the middle was the better songs, and I didn't have a problem with that, but I don't know if I would wanna. I think it depends. I think this one's a kind of short album, at least in like terms of track listing, because some of these songs are kind of not really long, but they're like meaty. They're 5 minutes, 4 minutes, a good 3 minutes. But it was interesting because I feel like I don't know a lot. I think a lot of albums are top heavy. By the end, you don't really care anymore, and I think that's the point. You listen to it in the beginning and then be like, all right, well. If you listen to an album and the first 5 songs are garbage, the chances that you make it to the end are slim. Well, I wouldn't say that about this album. This one, I thought that the better songs were in the middle.
The thing with that is, though, when you're listening... See, I think, like... I got 2 different concepts, but with this album, like... I think just like their style, the band itself, they're trying to slowly get you into it, and then when you're into it, you're like, wow, this is something right now. Like, I actually can dig this. I like this, and I feel like that's why they push through with this album. I think it's just so agreeable, and it's like, yes, like this is nice.
Yeah, but I don't think that has as much to do with like your track listing. Because I don't think the first couple songs are much tamer than the rest of it. I think it's, and I don't even know if I would say that they're like for me. I could understand if someone were to like other tracks. Like I think that all the tracks were good. I didn't have a track where I was like, yeah, it's awful. I preferred the middle tracks, but I think they didn't. This is a good. It's a good album. You know, the songs, none of them are just awful, and, you know, I can agree with that.
I feel like it would be better, though, to have, like, I don't know. It depends on what your focus is. If you're trying to go, like, mainstream and be on the radio, I guess, put your album with all the best songs in the beginning, and then you'll get instant hits, probably. If they're good. But if you want your fan base... If you know, in fact, that your fan base doesn't care and they're always going to listen and they're diehard and they're loyal, put your songs wherever you want them to be. Put them in the middle.
Well, I would say just make an album where all of them are good, but then you don't have that problem.
I mean, that's
the thing. This is my more of a preference thing. Like, I wouldn't say the first couple tracks are worse than the middle. I wouldn't say that because I like them still. I preferred the middle ones, but I wouldn't say that, like, it's top heavy or back heavy or anything like that. It's just, I thought it was just an interesting thing for me, because I don't think a lot of albums where I'm like, yeah, I like the middle part more than the first or end. Because I feel like it's most of the time, but I think that maybe it's probably just because a lot of the albums that happen that aren't very good are like top heavy, and they have tracks that are bad because they just put out tracks.
Yes. How did you feel about, like, the Hellion? How did you feel about, like, the 40-second, like, little intro?
I thought it was fine. It rolled right into the second track, so.
Did you think that it was fine on its own, or do you think that it should just be with Electric Eye because it's just so smooth?
Well, I don't know. I think that they probably did it for a point. I don't know if they just did that for no reason. I have a hard time believing that they did that for no reason.
I think it was for a point, but
I'm not sure what the point of it was. Coming into his own track. But I don't know, because I don't think it matters.
That's true.
Because, I mean, it helps from here's what I'll say. It helps from an album experience, that I would say maybe not if you're listening to Electric Eye by itself. You don't need to play Helion first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Electric Eye works better as a track without it being an intro. Because then you're like, wow, this is an intro track because of the builds and all that stuff. And it works, it's worse off as a song as by itself. Like if you were to just listen to the song. But I think Helion as an intro serves to build up to the first track being Electric Eye. So I would say, I like that because I like that I could turn on Electric Eye and not have to hear the whole build up. But when I listen to the album, I want to hear that build up because it builds up to the album.
Well said.
I didn't really think about that until now, but I would say that's probably why they did it, and I would say that I'm fine with that.
Solid. I thought, my personal opinion on it, I don't know about you. You said, in the middle was your favorite. I thought, overall, the whole beginning was pretty solid for me, but obviously the middle was, I agree with you that it was the best. But I thought it tended to fall off towards the end. I didn't really like Fever and Devil's Child. It was kind of
well, yeah, that's what I didn't think they were bad. I didn't hate them or anything. I thought that they were just less interesting than the middle thing. But I would also say the same thing about, for me, I found Electric Eye, and I think there was the one about Wind. That
yes, Riding on the Wind.
Riding on the Wind. Thought those two were just a little bit less interesting than Bloodstone, Take These Chains, all those.
Bloodstone is just so Bloodstone. It's just it's so repetitive, and I feel like after Daft Punk, I just love repetitive songs that are just increasingly just rattling your eardrums. If that's I feel like I said that wrong, but it's just just gets crazier, and you're just wow, you're just blown away. I feel like I just have an ear for that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure what, because on Spotify for this album, they actually have
the 30th anniversary version.
Yes, with the Prisoner of Eyes and the live. There's a live version of Devil's Child, so I wasn't sure if you heard that or not, but
I did not listen to Prisoner of Your Eyes or any of the live tracks because I didn't think they were included on the first album.
Alright, just
the
checking.
Original, so because it's the same version. I think that's all the streaming version that there is. I couldn't find another version, at least streaming. Maybe on YouTube I could, but not on Google Play, which is where I listen to my music. And I disregarded all the live. I ended at Devil's Child.
No, that's what I wanted you to do. I was just checking. I thought I listened to Prisoner of Eyes. It wasn't that good anyway. So to me personally, so I don't.
I didn't listen to it, so I can't.
You weren't missing out on pretty much. So I think you're good. But overall, pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple of just things I kind of wanted to bounce off of Tommy. Some news on, I guess, the world of TV, music, and film, and all that shit. The first thing, I hope this is quick, but maybe I'll get you riled up or something.
God,
I just thought this was funny.
Here we go.
It's an article from Variety. The headline, I guess, of it is Nickelodeon splits with producer Dan Schneider. So I guess end of an era. Sorry.
Oh no! Wait. How recent is this?
I don't know. I don't know. I just heard about this.
I think I knew about this before.
This article is from today. From Monday, the 26th. Yeah.
What? I feel like I already knew about something.
You might have heard something about this, but
I definitely.
So this is the producer behind. I mean, all that to start. Keenan and Kel, The Amanda Show, What I Like About You, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, all those.
I watched all of those shows because my sister would nonstop play it. The fact that I have a sister is why I would watch all those shows.
I think I watched Drake and Josh. I've seen so much of Zoe 101 too. And
yes,
I
exactly.
hate my life. I mean, I don't have any sisters to blame. I watched it because
Ned's Declassified, bro.
Dude, that one's good.
That one's actually good. That was
I think Zoe 101 is it's just interesting because I don't even know. They were in high school. It was such a weird premise.
I know.
Because they weren't even in college. Like, they were just at, like, boarding school. It's weird. I don't want to iCarly I thought was funny, but it's a funny... It's something... It's like... I don't know. I think if I were to watch it now...
It'd be weird.
And not have watched it before. So if you had never seen iCarly or anything, you would just be like, yo, this stuff is not that funny. Like, especially if you were like 25, you would just be like, no. Because I think it's very childlike. And I think I could almost say the same for Drake and Josh. Like, I think that a lot of people love it because because of the fact that we grew up with it. And I think that obviously I think it's hilarious, and I probably would think it's hilarious regardless of my age. Yeah. If I had never seen it before and I was 25, I don't know how funny I would think it was. Like, I think there's a certain age where it's not that funny anymore, and
it'd be so hard.
You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it.
How would you not hear about it though? Like, think about the alternative. You'd have to.
There are people that have never seen SpongeBob. Think about it like that.
God.
Yeah. So.
No, but he's heard of it though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's not about that, because you could hear about Drake and Josh and then watch it finally and be like, yo, this is not that funny.
I feel like that's the exact same way with Claude when he watches stuff. We have a friend named Claude, and he's never watched SpongeBob before. So,
well, I think he's watched. We've made him watch, but he never grew up watching SpongeBob ever.
But no, you're
so
right.
I think he's because
it's
I think
not the same way.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Exactly, because I think some of the stuff is lost on him. He doesn't get it. I mean, think. That's the thing with like shows like Drake and Josh and SpongeBob, that there's like this mythos to them. Well, and you wouldn't get the show if you jumped in midway. You wouldn't get the tropes that everyone knows about SpongeBob.
He's watched Friends so much and The Office, but I don't think he would be interested in binging like SpongeBob. Like, he's not interested in that. You know what I mean? Like, he's grew up on these other shows, but
primarily Thomas the Tank Engine. Fuck.
It's so true, but like. You're right. This whole you just when you have to previously see it at least like a couple of times to like fully understand it.
Because
and love it.
There's like I couldn't even tell you how many. Just you ever just think about like how many SpongeBob based memes there are that have just hit. So many. There's the one with the fucking capitals and like the lowercase, like the mocking thing where he got his arm stuck out. There's the one that's popular right now, the Patrick one. There's the one of, obviously there's Caveman's SpongeBob. That one's big.
That's a throwback.
But like, and there's more. There's more that I'm forgetting.
There was one meme that was like, wow, they really made a show out of this meme, and it was SpongeBob. I was like, yo, that's a good one.
So I think like those shows and they're just hard. Like, I don't think you would find those things as funny if you never watched it. And like, cause there's a big like I can't even think about how many people have watched SpongeBob.
It's basically like McDonald's. It's like they're just everywhere. You know about it.
Or at least you've seen some of the classic episodes, the first couple of seasons, most of them probably. I mean, I haven't seen SpongeBob like a new episode in a long time, but
I hear
but it doesn't really matter because we all grew up on that first stuff.
The only thing I think people probably don't know about is like the actual like pirate, you know, like I forget his name with like the parrot.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I feel like a lot of that would be a good meme like to start from. But a lot of people wouldn't get that one. They just get the SpongeBob and the Patrick and the Sandy.
I don't know. People have seen the movie.
I know.
He's in the movie.
I know, but I feel like he's not like that important, though, in the grand scheme of things. I'm just like saying that. I like that character. That's all.
But I guess end of an era. Dan Schneider leaving Nickelodeon. I don't think any of the shows he was making now were like popular. I mean, I think I'm looking here and like Henry Danger is the one that's Game Shakers or... I guess that got canceled, it says here. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Once something's not hidden, it's not funny, you lost your magic, it's over with. I don't know if that says more about the quality of show, because I would obviously argue that the quality of show was better before.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are probably people that will argue against that. I don't know.
how could they argue against it? They would, but I really don't see where they would come from because, especially with Cartoon Network too. Well, you probably beg to differ with that.
What do you mean?
The Cartoon Network, I feel like there's a lot better shows when we were younger. Yo, Ben 10 back in the day, yo.
Yes and no, though, because I think there are.
I'm not saying.
This is the thing about Cartoon Network is different. I think I don't want to get in a long rant about Cartoon Network because I will get caught in one because I'm very passionate about the state of Cartoon Network now. I think that they used to be focused on a different thing, which wasn't sales of toys and whatever kids will watch mindlessly. So they gave better content. But I think, looking back, I could probably watch Ben 10, or the original Ben 10, at least the first part of it, again right now and be totally cool with that, and it would be amazing. But I think shows like Adventure Time, regular show,
they're
Steven Universe, I would still say Gumball, I didn't really like the first season of it, or at least I didn't think anything special about it, but I thought it really came into its own in terms of like mocking themes and tropes from shows.
I think those are really great shows, and like
I think what's the most recent show that has come out on Cartoon Network that you loved, that you were like, damn, this shit's good? I think the last I could even say that was anything close to quality was
Uncle Grandpa.
No, was Steven Universe. And I'm not Billy. Our friend Billy is like really into Steven Universe. He loves it. But
what was Billy and Mandy on?
The Cartoon Network.
Yes, that was a good show.
But I think that it's harder.
Where's Scooby Doo?
What's new Scooby Doo?
No. What the original?
The original Scooby Doo?
Yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, that was probably on like some. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's way off.
What's new Scooby Doo? I think was on Cartoon Network. That was the like modern series, not the new modern series. That's
there's a Scooby Doo movie that there's like 2 of them.
Live action.
Oh,
yeah. And then they rebooted them for Cartoon Network. But that's another time. I don't want to talk about that anymore because it'll go on forever. I could literally talk for an hour about just Cartoon Network in general. Another thing I brought to the table for you to hear, and I want to know your opinion. This was recently in the news. Steven Spielberg explains why Netflix's TV movies, in quotes, aren't Oscar-worthy. And here's a quote from him.
Yeah, I would definitely like to. This is interesting.
Once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie. You certainly, if it's a good show, deserve an Emmy, but not an Oscar. I don't believe films that are just given token qualifications in a couple of theaters for less than a week should qualify for the Academy Award nomination.
Ooh. Wow.
So what I would say about this, I love a lot of Steven Spielberg movies. I respect him as a filmmaker and everything, but I think he's out of touch with this. I think he's not getting it, and I think that I understand it because it's a change that a lot of filmmakers that grew up in the past don't really get and don't understand, and there's this kind of idea that, well, you're not putting it in theaters, you're not getting that theater experience, so it's not really the same. It's not true film. It's not true film. I think it doesn't really work for the new age that we're in. I think things change, and it's hard. Originally things were told over radio, and things just changed. You got to get used to those things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what from his point of view. He's probably that's just not his style.
Well, one thing I think that he doesn't really have to worry about is I don't know if I can think off top of any good movie that was made just for Netflix.
No.
The one that I'm thinking of right now that's not good is the Death Note movie that was awful.
Oh my god!
I watched it and I watched Death Note, the anime, and
I did too.
And
wow,
holy god, it was awful. There's the Adam Sandler. Yeah, Adam Sandler movies that are awful. He made god damn, what's the one?
Which one? I know a lot of them.
I don't know. All right, so there was Bright with Will Smith that got terrible reviews. I have not seen that, but what I'll say is I brought up movies that were made specifically for Netflix.
Oh.
and Mudbound is one that got a lot of. You probably didn't hear about it, but on the award circuit, it was very big. I think there was some actor. Oh,
you know what? I really don't like that Netflix. Sorry, but they used to have. They've updated it so much before, but they used to have like a system on there. I think they still do, really, but it was like you're like 80% compatible with like watching this. Like you're probably gonna like this.
I don't.
And then you click on the movie and you're like, oh my god, this is the worst movie you've ever seen. And you've watched other movies, and it's just like, I wish they would just have a rating system, like, not Rotten Tomatoes, but maybe that would probably be better for Netflix, honestly. Like it or you don't like it. Because there's just a lot of bad movies that really just crowd, like, the good movies on Netflix. And when something does, like, really, like Annihilation, I'm pretty sure is going... Annihilation is not a bad movie, but when it doesn't do good in theaters, it goes to Netflix. Or it goes right to DVD, you know what I mean?
Sure, but I think that...
Sure.
No, I agree, because... I think the Netflix movies are the ones that are funded by Netflix and created. They don't really go to theaters.
No. I know what you're saying.
And there are good ones.
I'm just making a statement on...
Beasts of No Nation with Idris Elba. That's from Joji Fukunaga. I forget how to say his name. He made the...
I have no idea.
He made True Detective with Matthew McConaughey.
True Detective.
So, there are good films on it. I just think that... I just think they're probably more hit or miss.
They used to have a lot more movies on there.
But I'm talking about original Netflix movies. That's what he's talking about. Movies that are not just ones that end up on Netflix, but ones that Netflix funds and creates. Those are what he's talking about.
All right, well, let me hear some.
So, Beasts of No Nation is good. But I'm talking about, like, Bright. That movie, Bright, with Will Smith, where he's with, like, an orc.
Oh, I know
that movie. About. So,
yeah.
And Death Note is one that
I didn't know that was a movie. I thought that was a show.
No. Death Note is... I know you're not talking about Death Note, but I'm moving on.
I know.
Death Note.
That was...
Death Note is one that's like...
That's so trash.
Yeah, so there's the 13th with Ava DuVernay's directed. That's a documentary on the 13th Amendment, I believe.
I've not heard about that one.
And it's there's one I have not seen. My cousin actually recommended it to me called Okja from Bong Joon-ho, the director of Snowpiercer.
Oh.
So that's something I would definitely be interested in. I probably should have seen it by now.
Wow.
I have not had the chance, but I do not have Netflix, so I have to watch these things by other means usually.
Dude, Snowpiercer is actually a way underrated movie.
That
was a good... You recommended that movie to me.
Yeah.
That was a good one. We should review that in the future, so...
Yeah, I'll write it down. For people listening, which is everyone, I did not write it down.
I like how we have to...
So...
never mind.
Okja, and then Mudbound, which is, I think, a movie that came out last year that had a lot of...
Is there anything like...
A lot of, like, award buzz, and it was very popular, and I think it was good, at least, from what people said. I don't know. But there are bad movies that they make, and I think most of them are bad, to be honest.
Netflix needs to step up their game, dude.
I think they make some good shows, not some not good shows. I think it's just the way it goes. They're hit or miss. But I think it's indicative of the way actual movies are made. Like, let's be real, Steven Spielberg. You know, if a movie from Netflix is more quality than a movie that's coming out in theaters, then why should we even act like it's not?
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same thing. It just doesn't get released in theaters. It's more accessible to people anyway. There are a lot of people that don't go to see movies because they don't either have time, they prefer just being in the comfort of their home. I like going to see movies, but most of the movies I've seen in my life probably were at home because they're either older or whatever. So what's the difference between me watching a movie made in 1969 at home, because I never can see that in a theater ever, and watching a movie on Netflix that just came out?
I really gotta just, like, let this one loose. I despise people that just go to the movies and they're like, oh, I'll just see whatever's playing. That just, I could never, I don't know if it's just because of me, but like, I would always go to like, Distinta, and there'll always be like someone randomly just going there, and they'll always be like, yeah, what's out? Like, are you feeling okay? You need to know what movie.
What I'll say about that is that I think there are people that go to the movies to just go to the movies. Like, it's more, for them, it's just an experience of going to the movies. Like, that's what they do.
I know, but I feel like you're not going to some drive-in where it's like half dead and it's a dying art. No, movie theaters are still good. You need to stop crapping on it, okay?
Well, I don't think they're crapping. I just think there's people that put a lot more value in certain things than other people. Like, obviously, I'm not going to the theater to just watch any old movie. I'm going to see a movie I want to see.
The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur, absolutely. Or a movie that... So, what I'll say is, like, obviously, I know what's out in theaters at almost all times. And that's just the way I am. I'm interested in film. That's what I like. But I can't expect the average person to do that. But I also think that I've seen so many bad movies in theaters, and I don't know if that. I think that it's more about the experience at that point. When I'm with my friends seeing movies that are bad, like Chappie, that was such a good experience seeing Chappie because it was fucking awful. And it was hilarious, and we just didn't get... Crimson Peak was another good one. Krampus was the one that's not as bad, but Krampus was a fun experience.
I'm going to fight you on Crimson Peak.
No, it's awful.
No, I actually like that movie.
It's awful, though.
I like it. You say The Village is awful, but I like that
movie.
So
you like awful movies. Okay, we got that as a fact out of the way.
Forrest Gump. You're saying Forrest Gump is a bad movie.
I never said Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump feeds off of a lot of people's, like... It's a very feel-good movie.
Okay, but it's not a bad movie.
I never said it was a bad movie.
All right.
I think it's overrated. There's a difference, though. Crimson Peak, I don't think it's overrated. I think it's...
Underrated?
No, but think about how many people have seen Forrest Gump. And people go, I love Forrest Gump so much. How many people quote Forrest Gump?
I love Forrest Gump. I really do. It's the... All right, I agree with you. It's overrated, but it's... Because it's so memorable. It's like...
But why is it memorable?
Because of just the lines and just like Tom Hanks himself just playing this character. It's just crazy. And all these events, it just, like, all these references in it. I'm not trying to get too much about Forrest Gump because I love it. It's like my second favorite movie, but it just has a lot to offer. Like, for everyone, there's so many. It's such a long movie, too. It's got so much with it. And it's overrated because it's, like, played a lot. Even on TV, it's, like, played way too much. And that's
what I'll say is, like, people will be like, I love Forrest Gump. Like, there are a lot better movies than Forrest Gump. That's the thing. And I think that happens for any movie. I'm not going to deny that. You know, there are a lot better movies than every movie. But the thing is, I think Forrest Gump, just so many people know it, so many people love it, and so many people... I don't know.
Like, I've never met someone that hates Forrest Gump. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's the thing I'll say. I think it's just this thing, kind of like universal love for it is like. I think it deserves that to a certain degree, but I think that no one is willing to like scrutinize it. That's what I'll say. No one ever has anything bad to say about it.
Well,
and I think there are things that are bad to say about it, and no one's really willing to do that because it's such a cheery movie. You feel good at the end of it, you know?
Dude, I cry at the end. When he sees his... Dude, when he finds out his son... Oh, my God. When he finds out his son is his son, dude, it's just... And he puts him on the bus. Oh. It's just... You're right. It feels so good.
That you don't even want to think about the bad parts of it.
Yes, especially the fact that Jenny's a complete bitch. Oh, my God. Jenny, you're a bitch. Just the whole time. And his mother dying. And then Jenny dies, and he loves Jenny. And then Bubba dies, and all these people die.
Well, Jenny fully takes advantage of him.
Yes,
I mean, he's
I know. But Jenny dies, I think, it is an emotional point. Even if you don't like Jenny, I think it is an emotional point for him. And
it is. I'm not going to deny that.
You got to feel for him.
Sure, but I think that it's almost sad because it's almost... I think it's... People don't talk... Like, it's almost sadder to think about, or more sad or whatever, to think about the fact that, like, I don't think she really cared about him at all, and then she kind of just plops back. I don't know how she didn't care about him as much as he cared about her. I think that's a fact.
Yes,
she just kind of plops back into his life as she's dying, and is like, "Hey, I'm having a child," like blah blah blah, like all this stuff. I think that's a lot, but whatever. That's not really the point anyway. I mean, that was really off topic anyway. So
Forrest Gump is so good, but go ahead. Sorry,
whatever.
It's good.
The last topic to talk about is this Lil Xan controversy that's been in the news.
Oh my god, this is a good one. Lil Xan.
Besides the fact that I watched a video of him getting pressed by high schoolers.
High school?
And there's this... He gets escorted to...
Oh my god.
his vehicle or whatever by the cops. And it's kind of sad. And I just am like, man... And he talks about how he's like... I don't know. This isn't the first time, this isn't the first time that newer rappers have, some would say, disrespected older rappers, and that I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I think if you were stealing off of something that someone else did and you said, yeah, I don't care about them, then that would be a problem, but, like, I don't know how much Lil Xan is influenced by, like, Tupac or whatever. For those not aware, I guess that Lil Xan, he was asked about Tupac in an interview. He said boring, but I honestly find boring to be less of a problem. He gave it a 2 out of 10, I think, just like on a rating. Like, I feel like that was disrespectful. Just like come on, come on. Lil Xan is telling me Tupac is boring. Lil Xan is kind of boring. Betrayed is... Billy likes Betrayed.
I hate it.
I don't mind it.
Pussy tastes like Skittles. I can't get past it.
Well, I think that's not... I can't tell you that that's the most interesting thing. I can't remotely tell you that's the most interesting
thing. It's also a downgrade when you hear your sister bumping it and singing it in the next room and you're like, wow, what has this world come to? And she literally says, pussy tastes like Skittles... My sister, you can't accept it. You cannot accept it. But what I will say, I do not believe that Lil Xan. This is a really good topic. I did not expect this one. But I do not believe that Lil Xan has fully immersed himself into Tupac's music.
Sure, but
stop saying George.
Can we expect every rapper to do that? There are, I think, this doesn't apply to just rappers, but there are rappers that are very well versed in the past, and I think someone like probably Kanye West is a good example, or Tyler the Creator, that know their shit. They know what they're talking about. They know the past, and they know what went into that and all that stuff, and they're well aware of that, and they use that to their advantage. But there are people like, I'll say, like Lil Yachty's a good example of someone that's very popular. I enjoy some of his music, not all of it at all, but a good portion of it. And he's like disrespected the past. He said he doesn't know. He couldn't name 5 Biggie Small songs or Tupac songs. I think I may be misquoting that, but no, I think it was something in that vein.
I think it's about right. I heard it too.
And I couldn't say how much he's influenced on those things. He talks about how his favorite rappers are Soulja Boy and Lil B, and I understand that because I think he's a very internet rapper, and they're the definition of internet rappers that come up, that have their whole come up on the internet. But what I'll say is that I think Tupac's an interesting one because of Tupac's cultural significance. I almost think Tupac, I love his music. I think
you just can't.
Changes is one of my favorite songs by him. But I think that culturally, it was very important to.
You can't put him at a 2 out of 10. You just can't. He doesn't. You don't have to love him, but even his music, to say his music is boring and put him at a 2 out of 10. If it's boring, it's not bad.
Well, that's why I said I didn't think the boring part was actually that offensive. I thought it was more of the fact that he said it was 2 out of 10. I think that's kind of disrespectful.
It just, like, I think he's getting way too much attention out of this. He should just be put like, you don't have to be like, oh, I slave to my predecessors, you know what I mean? Like, people before me, I think that's correct.
Sure.
I'm saying that right. Stop saying sure. Alright, you might be, like, reasonable to say sure there. But, like, you don't have to love all the people that came before you. You don't even have to really praise them. You don't have to say, oh, they're gods and I love their music. But to say that they're all shit and just say, like, whatever with them, I'm doing me. Maybe that's fine, maybe it's not, but...
What I'll say is that if you're not... I hate to say... I was thinking of the saying, like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Oh, I don't think that's true, and I don't think that applies here, really. But, because I think you can criticize things, but I think that to be very flippant in your criticisms... like, I just think it's very unaware, and I don't know how... I guess it is what it is, and I'm not going to say anything, but I think that Tupac had a lot of cultural significance that Lil Xan is like a white kid that raps, doesn't really have to believe in or doesn't have to even be aware of because it doesn't affect him. But I think Tupac's music about black power and self-love and I think the problems in the world are very important and culturally significant, and it's just I think Lil Xan, he was, I just think he made a mistake saying those kind of things, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think that
I also think that he doesn't, I'm going to back him up to play devil's advocate. I don't think he deserves as much like attack on him. Just like with the Terry thing, I'll flip it around. I think people are too easy to just, like, attack. Like in chess. You know what I mean? But
I guess, I don't know. I don't play chess. But life's like chess.
But really, he just said something, like you said, like a mistake. Or maybe not. Maybe he fully agrees with it. But I think people are way, like, oh my god, like, this is crazy. Whatever. He just gave his opinion.
Yeah, I don't think this is the firestorm it has to be. I don't think every rapper on the face of the earth needs to comment on it and, go after him. I think you're putting too much stock in a guy that really not too many people should care about. So, yeah, I think that's a good point to end on, because I think it's just one of those things that everyone's going to probably care, but I think you got to step back and say, well, who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of a standstill. No one's going to win really with that one. It's a tough position, especially with like, there was something I was watching too about Jay-Z, I believe, and just him being one of the greats and him attacking the younger crowds. I believe it was Hip Hop DX, something like that.
Well, I at least I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. We probably are, but I know at least what you're referencing, but I'm not sure if what I'm referencing is going to be the same thing. But I think he kind of he attacks the youth, but he attacks his former self in the same way, because I think he saw mistakes in his past, and he's saying, "Hey, I did this, but I could have been more successful. This is how you should go about being even more successful, because this is what I would have done if I knew this." I think it's almost like an ode to his past self. It's like, there's the one line about stop putting money phones to your ear. And I think Jay-Z is, he definitely was, doing that in the past. And I think it's more of just like, hey, I did these things. I know I'm guilty of the same things, but, I think that they were wrong in the past, or at least they were just nonsense in the past, and I should have been doing something more significant.
Well said. Jeez.
Which is, these aren't opinions these are opinions I hold, but these are things I've seen in Hip Hop DX or whatever I was watching. Maybe even like, I don't know, the Rap Critic.
Wow, the Rap Critic?
I don't know if that's his full thing, or the Rap Critic, or something, or I'm missing something else. But
you watched the Rap Critic too?
Well, I saw that this is coming from his breakdown of the Story of OJ.
I did not see that.
Music video. His reaction to that. So.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But I think we got across
our points.
So before we end it, we're gonna give our movies picks and album picks for next week, which is what we'll be doing from now on. Is we'll be giving you guys time to actually listen to or watch the things if you want to be up to date,
or at least keep it in your mind.
Or at least be aware, I guess,
Yes.
of what we're doing next week. So I picked the album, because Tommy picked this album this week. I'm picking 1979's Unknown Pleasures from Joy Division, which is a post-punk album. And Tommy has his movie pick.
Yes, and see, the thing with that is, we're just going to leave it a little bit, I'm having you pick, because, like I was talking to you before when we were not on the mic, I'm obsessive in a different way where I cannot pick for the life.
Do you have options at least?
Pick a letter A to Z.
Oh,
Go right ahead, and I have a list.
J.
Caddyshack.
Okay, this is going to be interesting.
Caddyshack is the movie.
So, we're going to be back next week with Unknown Pleasures and Caddyshack. So, I will see you then, and you'll hear me then.
Bye-bye.